All right, let's get into running backs. The guys we have at the top of our rankings: Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott. Obviously, keep in mind Dalvin Cook left Monday Night Football, so keep an eye on that. But right now, Nelson, is there anyone else that you would want to include in the top tier of running backs for Week 14?
This guy kind of has disappointed pretty much like all year. He's just been just average. But this is the week I think that he has like his like true breakout game, and it's Le'Veon Bell. So he would be one guy that I'd be really interested in this week. Um, and then the other guy that I wanted to mention would be Melvin Gordon. Um, Possibly lower owned type of running back that I think has a really good matchup. So Jacksonville looks like they kind of have given up a little bit on the season, not really playing too hard. So that would be another play. I mean, you look, the past 2 weeks, running backs have just been kind of crushing Jacksonville, and Tampa Bay's kind of hard to put up there because they don't have really good running backs per se, but Barber got a couple of touchdowns, on them, and it just seems like you're able to run the ball on them. So I would expect like Gordon and Bell would be like the two guys that I think have the ceiling, the upside, to kind of be like total like slate breakers at more of a lower owned percentage.
Mm-hmm. Sean, what do you think? Who are you relatively high on?
So I mean, week 14, just taking a step back, is just full of headache, like committee backfield type situations. And Raybon and I were joking last night we could just do the entire pod on running backs this week. And there's only one running back that's I consider a workhorse back that's under 5,500, and that's Devontae Freeman. He's going to be a little under the radar just because he's been out for a few weeks, and then he played Thursday night for the Thanksgiving slate. But I love this matchup at home. The Falcons are slight favorites, and he got 21 touches his first game back. So this is a matchup against the Panthers that just got crushed by both Darius Geis and Adrian Peterson last week. So this is a spot where I'm looking to get Freeman at hopefully lower ownership and pretty cheap considering he's one of the few workhorse backs left this time of year. And the other guy, speaking of just the committee backfields, the guy that I think I might take a stab at in a few teams would be Jordan Wilkins. Before Marlon Mack got hurt, he was clearly the backup. Where if Mack went down, I think we'd be all over Wilkins. Unfortunately, he had that ankle injury, so he had to miss that first game. So Jonathan Williams sort of carried. He got the starter role for the past couple of games, but last week Wilkins out-touched Williams. I don't know if it was due to injury or game flow or what, but I think there's a chance that Wilkins could have inherited the starter role. And this is a tougher matchup against the Buccaneers, but at 3,700. I think he's worth a flyer, and this is one of the many backfields I'm going to be looking into this week and trying to get right. But I think Wilkins could be a sneaky play this week.
Raybon, what about you? Who do you like?
One guy I'm looking at is Phillip Lindsay. I think the Texans, since they've lost J.J. Watt, that run defense is not very formidable, and it kind of went under the radar with all of the talk and narrative about what's ailing the Patriots and in their receivers getting lack of separation and Brady frustrated. But James White goes for 14 for 79. So that's over 5 yards to carry. Michelle, 10 for 45, 4.5. And then Burkhead also had 3 for 15. So that's 5 yards to carry. Well over 100 yards. The week before, Jonathan Williams goes over 100. And Naeem Haim goes over 50 on just 9 carries. And then the week before that, they give up 178 yards on the ground combined to Ravens backs, and I'm not counting, obviously, Lamar Jackson, just the running back. So this Texans run defense, just think they're due to kind of get exploded on. And Lindsey, over the last 3 games, he's seen his carry share tick up to where they've had 62 running back carries, and he's gotten 46 of them. And that is 74%. So, right, he's getting 3 out of every 4 now, whereas early in the year, he was right around 55%. So, like Lindsey, to have a big game against Houston.
All right, one guy I'm relatively high on is Mark Ingram, going against Buffalo, which has a strong defense, but much stronger in its pass defense than its run defense. In fact, they have a pretty marked run funnel defense, and I'm expecting the Ravens, who are number 1 in the league in rush success rate, to stick to the running game quite a bit to exploit the weakness of the team they're facing. So I think Ingram will have a pretty decent rushing game, and I could see him, falling into the end zone a couple of times, which just seems to be the main way that he gets fantasy points. But at this point, it's happened enough to where I think it's pseudo reliable. Nelson, I'm wondering, who are you relatively low on?
Probably, well, he's not on the main slate, but the guy I probably wouldn't have touched is Zeke Elliott on the Thursday night game. And that's only because I just saw that Hakeem Hicks is returning back to practice for the Chicago Bears. And he actually is what makes their defense click. So I'm not going to mention him, but I'd probably say that it's McCaffrey. I think against Atlanta, it looks like just like a premium matchup, and I don't know, he's super expensive, and it makes it hard to kind of fit, the rest of the players that I would want to play. So I'm kind of more in the mid tier of running backs. So McCaffrey would be a guy. Listen, he's a monster, but he's probably a guy that I'd probably am gonna, leave alone this week.
Sean, what about you?
Yeah, so I mean, Tevin Coleman's value has hit rock bottom. There's no way I'm spending 5,100 on him this week at New Orleans. Mostert has definitely looked like their best back the past 2 games, and Matt Breida returns this week. So I'm avoiding just all backs on this team, especially if you're in season long. I don't think you could trust any of these backs. They're all ranked in the RB 40 to 50 range for me right now. And you even have like Jeff Wilson lurking around for potential vulture touchdowns. So I know we've been kind of banking on Tevin Coleman to break out of this funk, but with Matt Breida back, I just say leave him on your bench this week and complete fade for me in DFS. And the other guy is Kareem Hunt. I believe he's the 8th most expensive running back on DK, which is way too high. I get the home matchup against the Bengals is a smash spot for running backs and stuff, but I think this is going to be more of a Nick Chubb game. I could see Chubb getting 25 plus carries this week. There's not really a need to use Kareem Hunt too much. So I just think at this price, he's more of a high floor, low end RB2 flex kind of guy. I don't think he really has a ceiling this week to warrant being the 8th most expensive running back on the slate.
Raybon, what about you?
I think for me, it's probably James White. I think that he is going to be higher owned than he normally would because of the big game on national TV. And now you kind of look at the Chiefs, the matchup against the Chiefs, and you say, okay, well, they're a high scoring team. Maybe the Patriots are going to get behind and have to throw the football out. But I just don't see, White had a season high 14 carries. He played 68 snaps. And now they are essentially on a shorter week. I just don't see him doing that in back-to-back games. And he had a relatively quiet afternoon against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. 6 carries, 23 yards, 4 catches, 49 yards, no scores. So nothing, too out of, big for him in that one. And I think what the Patriots may actually want to do, given that they've been struggling in the pass game, is start, they haven't really had a fullback all year, but they're using a Landon Roberts a little more there. They also finally have 2 tight ends healthy in Watson and Lacoste. I think they might try to go bigger, maybe tackle eligible, and run on the Chiefs a lot to keep their offense off the field. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for more of a Michelle game than a White game this week.
All right. And Nelson, I'm with you on being relatively low on Ezekiel Elliott, as you mentioned. a tough defense he's facing in Chicago. I expect a lowish scoring game. I still think he's a top 10 back, but it wouldn't be surprising if he scored outside of the top 5 this week. So that's my perspective on him. Sean, give us the running back prop.
So this is assuming Kalen Ballage is out this week. I'm pretty sure he suffered a season-ending injury. I haven't seen any confirmation of that yet, but assuming he's out this week and Patrick Laird takes over the backfield for the Dolphins, I want to do his rushing plus receiving yards prop. They're at the Jets this week, and I have it at 59.5 right now.
I mean, I'll take the under, considering that he's a Dolphins running back with the Dolphins, playing for the Dolphins. So yeah, I'll take the under.
I'll go over. I have him a couple yards over, but I should mention that most of that is coming through the air. I think he'll have success in that area. The Dolphins are they're in need of guys to throw the football to, and I think Laird is a much better player than Ballage, and will catch some footballs. He played about 60% of the snaps last week. I expect that could tick up, and also the Jets are among the league leaders in catches allowed to running backs.
Yeah, I liked your projected line for him last night. I'm on the same page. 8 carries for 0 yards with 11 catches for 102. I mean, that's basically it.
The poor man's McCaffrey.
Nelson, where are you on this?
I got to go with the under. I just don't trust that coaching staff. We're at the end of the year right now, and I actually, if I'm gonna go, like, you want to win like $1 million and play like the $20 GPP, like I would go with like a guy like Myles Gaskin, who like no one has even like heard his name talked about all year long. And just when you think like you have it all figured out and they're going to play the poor man's McCaffrey, it's going to be Myles Gaskin out there getting like all the touches, with Laird playing a little bit on passing down. So I'm going to take the under. I just don't trust it that, Laird's just going to be like the full-time guy.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I am. I think there's just too much uncertainty with that backfield. I mean, I could see it happening, but I'll look to fade it.